Your backyard scrap pile doesn't have to be an eyesore or a trip to the landfill waiting to happen. There is something incredibly satisfying about the scent of cedar and the potential hidden inside a jagged offcut of wood. Today, we are unlocking that potential by turning weathered boards and forgotten pallets into 16 stunning, recognizable pieces of garden art. It's time to breathe new life into your outdoor landscape right here on Home Yard Makeover. To start this project, you will want to find a few sturdy 4x4 offcuts that usually end up in the scrap bin after a big construction build. These heavy blocks provide a perfect, stable base for our feathered friend, ensuring the sculpture stands firm against the wind. By stacking them vertically and securing them with long structural screws, you create a solid torso that feels substantial and permanent. The real magic happens when you scavenge your kitchen for 2 old jar lids to serve as wide, inquisitive eyes, giving the piece an instant hit of personality. Adding the finishing touches requires some weathered cedar shingles, which are perfect for mimicking the layered texture of wings. You can cut these into soft, rounded shapes and tack them to the sides of your blocks with finishing nails. The natural silver patina of the old cedar contrasts beautifully against the raw grain of the 4x4 post, making the owl look like a deliberate piece of folk art. Once you place him on a mossy stone or a garden stump, he becomes a silent guardian that watches over your flower beds with rustic charm. Creating a centerpiece for your flower bed begins with disassembling an old shipping pallet to harvest those character-filled slats. You will need to cut several identical petal shapes, ensuring they have a slight taper toward the bottom to facilitate a clean circular arrangement. By layering these slats in 2 staggered rows, you create a 3-dimensional effect that catches the light and shadows much better than a flat cutout wood. This layering technique is the secret to making scrap would look like a professional craft project instead of a simple flat silhouette. The focal point of the daisy is a thick, circular branch slice harvested from a fallen limb in your backyard. This natural element ties the entire piece back to the earth, providing a rugged contrast to the painted pallet petals. Choosing soft, pastel tones like buttery yellow or muted cream can help the wooden flower blend seamlessly with your living plants. When you finally mount the flower on a sturdy wooden stake, it provides a permanent pop of color that stays vibrant even during the dormant winter months. Constructing a miniature dwelling starts with finding a thick, hollowed-out log segment that serves as the foundation for a magical woodland retreat. You can use a chisel to carve out a small arched doorway, giving the base the appearance of an ancient, weathered structure. This project is all about the tiny details, so don't be afraid to use small twigs to frame the entrance or create a miniature porch. The heavy texture of the bark provides a perfect backdrop for the more refined woodwork that will form the roof and windows. For the roof, overlapping small scraps of cedar shingles creates a classic, dragon scale appearance that looks incredibly whimsical and aged. Using waterproof wood glue ensures that the tiny roof remains intact through rain and sun, protecting the hollow interior where you might even hide a small LED tea light. Tucking this house among the ferns or at the base of a large oak tree creates a sense of discovery for anyone walking through your yard. It serves as a reminder that even the smallest scraps can build a world of imagination. Building a charming rabbit begins with salvaging 2 pointed slats from a discarded picket fence, which already possess the perfect shape for long, alert ears. You want to sand down the edges just enough to remove splinters while keeping that iconic weathered texture that only years of outdoor exposure can provide. By attaching these ears to a larger, rounded piece of scrap plywood or a thick board, you immediately establish a silhouette that is recognizable from across the lawn. It is a masterclass in using existing shapes to do the heavy lifting for your design. To give the bunny a bit of tactile whimsy, a simple ball of frayed twine or an old wooden knob makes for a perfect little tail. You can choose to leave the wood in its natural, graying state, or apply a very thin white wash to highlight the grain without hiding it. Positioning this figure in a patch of tall wildflowers or near the vegetable garden adds a touch of playful storytelling to your landscape. It is a quick and satisfying build that proves you don't need complex tools to create something truly endearing for your outdoor space. Transforming heavy log segments into glowing beacons starts with selecting wood that is relatively dry to prevent splitting over time. You will need to use a large spade bit or a hole saw to hollow out the center, leaving enough wall thickness to maintain the log's structural integrity. This cavity will eventually house a candle or a solar light, so ensure the bottom is flat and stable. The weight of the log makes these lanterns ideal for lining a gravel path or defining the edges of a patio without fear of them tipping over. The whimsical element comes into play when you begin drilling various sizes of holes through the sides in organic, swirling patterns. These apertures allow the internal light to spill out in beautiful, dappled rays that dance across the ground at night. You can experiment with different hole diameters to create a constellation effect or a floral motif that reflects your garden's personality. These lanterns offer a sophisticated way to recycle tree limbs, turning raw timber into a source of warm, inviting ambience for your evening gatherings. Directing guests through your yard becomes an artistic endeavor when you use mismatched scrap boards to create a story-driven signpost. You should look for pieces of varying widths and lengths, cutting some into sharp arrows and leaving others with rough, jagged ends for a more eclectic look. Hand-lettering the names of imaginary or real locations onto the wood adds a personal touch that feels much more authentic than store-bought signs. The key is to embrace the imperfections of the wood, letting knots and cracks add to the vintage, wonderland aesthetic. Securing these arrows to a sturdy, upright branch or a 4x4 post requires only a few galvanized nails and a bit of creative spacing. You can tilt the signs at different angles to suggest a sense of organized chaos that fits perfectly in a lush, overgrown garden setting. Planting some climbing vines like ivy or jasmine at the base of the post will eventually allow nature to wrap around the wood, further integrating it into the landscape. This project serves as a wonderful conversation starter and a visual anchor for the different rooms in your outdoor space. Capturing the lightness of a butterfly using heavy wood is a fun challenge that relies on thin plywood scraps and careful shaping. You will want to sketch out symmetrical wing patterns, perhaps varying the size for each butterfly in the trio to create a sense of perspective. Cutting these shapes with a jigsaw allows for smooth curves and delicate points that mimic the fragility of the actual insect. Despite being made of wood, these pieces should feel airy and energetic, especially when painted in bright, contrasting colors that pop against the green foliage. Mounting the butterflies onto long, flexible wire stakes is the secret to giving them life and movement within the garden. As the wind blows, the wire allows the wooden wings to bob and sway gently, creating a dynamic visual that mimics a butterfly in flight. Placing them at different heights among your marigolds or zinnias creates a multi-layered display that draws the eye upward. This project is a fantastic way to use up those awkward, thin pieces of wood that are too small for furniture but perfect for delicate outdoor art. Small-scale carpentry can yield big results when you use pallet runners to build a miniature, non-functional wheelbarrow. The frame is constructed by joining two long slats for the handles and supporting them with a simple cross brace for stability. You then build a small, open-topped box using thinner slats to serve as the cargo area, which is perfect for holding a variety of colorful succulents. This piece acts as a miniature stage for your plants, lifting them off the ground and giving them a dedicated architectural home within the garden. With a wheel, a simple wood disc cut from a thick scrap board is all you need to complete the classic silhouette. Even though this wheelbarrow won't be hauling heavy loads of soil, it adds a sense of history and hard work to your patio or flagstone path. Applying a dark, weathered stain can make the different wood types look uniform and aged, as if the piece has been a part of the garden for decades. It is a charming nod to traditional farm life that brings a cozy, cottagecore vibe to any suburban yard. Starting with a standard A-frame birdhouse structure gives you a blank canvas to explore the art of wooden mosaics. Instead of leaving the walls flat, you will glue hundreds of tiny, geometric wood offcuts in an overlapping pattern that resembles shingles or scales. Using different species of wood, like cedar, pine, and oak, provides a natural variety of colors and textures that make the surface visually fascinating. This process is incredibly meditative and allows you to utilize even the smallest slivers of wood that would otherwise be destined for the fire pit. Beyond its artistic value, the thick mosaic layer provides extra insulation for the birds nesting inside, keeping them warmer during chilly nights. You should ensure the entrance hole remains clear and the roof is properly angled to shed water away from the mosaic work. Hanging this heavy, textured house from a sturdy flowering branch creates a functional focal point that attracts local wildlife while showcasing your craftsmanship. It is a beautiful example of how functional garden items can be elevated into pieces of high-end, textured decor through simple repetition. Finding character in simple shapes is the goal when you select triangular offcuts of cedar to create a family of garden gnomes. The natural weather resistance of cedar makes it the ideal material for these low-profile statues that spend their time nestled in the dirt. By using a simple color palette of white for the beard and a single bold color for the hat, you can create a minimalist version of these classic garden icons. The angular nature of the blocks gives them a modern, low-poly look that feels fresh and updated for a contemporary landscape. Because these gnomes are solid blocks of wood, they have a satisfying heft that keeps them in place even during heavy summer storms. You can scatter them throughout your hostas or tuck them behind large stones to create little Easter eggs for visitors to find. The contrast between the rough, natural wood grain on the back and the bright, painted faces on the front adds a layer of depth to the design. This project is a perfect afternoon activity that results in a quirky, personality-filled addition to your shaded garden corners. Constructing a celestial accent for your yard begins by arranging several pallet slats side by side and drawing a large, sweeping crescent shape across them. Once you cut the shape out, you can reinforce the back with horizontal braces to hold all the individual slats together as a single, sturdy unit. The different grains and stains of the reclaimed wood will create a striped effect that adds visual interest to the large surface area. It is a bold, graphic piece that looks particularly striking when mounted against a dark-colored fence or a brick wall. To enhance the whimsical vibe, You might consider sanding the edges to a soft roundness, or adding a few small wooden stars dangling from the top tip of the moon. This piece acts as a wonderful backdrop for climbing plants like ivy or jasmine, which will eventually frame the moon in living greenery. Whether you choose to keep it natural or painted in a shimmering silver, the crescent moon adds a touch of nighttime magic to the garden even during the brightest part of the day. It's a simple silhouette that carries a lot of emotional and aesthetic weight. Reimagining household architectural waste is the key to creating a dragonfly that looks like it belongs in a vintage estate. An old porch spindle or a discarded chair leg makes for a fantastic textured body, providing a sense of weight and history to the sculpture. You can attach 4 long, thin slats of wood, perhaps from an old blind or thin lath, to act as the wings, angling them slightly to capture the light. This project encourages you to look at the curves and lines of old furniture as potential components for something entirely new and biological. Mounting the dragonfly on a tall, slender metal or wood stake allows it to hover above your garden grasses or pond area. You can finish the wood with a clear outdoor sealer to protect the various types of wood you've combined, ensuring the piece lasts for many seasons. The long, horizontal lines of the wings create a sense of movement and grace that balances out the more vertical elements of your plants. It is a sophisticated piece of upcycled art that proves reclaimed wood can be just as elegant as any metal or glass garden ornament. Building a sunburst wall hanging is an excellent way to use up those short, awkward lengths of shiplap or tongue-and groove boards left over from a home renovation. You start with a central wooden circle and begin radiating the boards outward like rays, varying the lengths and the angles of the cuts at the ends. This creates a jagged, energetic silhouette that mimics the sun's rays in a traditional folk art style. The overlapping layers of the shiplap provide built-in depth and shadow, making the piece look much more complex than it actually is to assemble. The sheer size of a sunburst makes it the perfect focal point for a large, empty wall on a garden shed or the side of your house. Because it is made of scrap wood, the different shades of tan, gray, and brown add a natural warmth to the outdoor space. You can even experiment with burning the edges of the rays with a torch to add a toasted, shadowed effect that defines each individual piece of wood. It is a powerful, sun-drenched symbol that brings a sense of brightness and positivity to your yard, regardless of the actual weather. Creating a cute, prickly companion for your garden starts with a large, rounded wood block or a thick piece of log that has been sanded into an oval shape. This serves as the body, and the real character comes from the quills, which are made from dozens of small, pointed scraps of wood. By drilling pilot holes and glued in these small spikes at varying angles, you create a dense, textured surface that perfectly mimics the look of a hedgehog. It is a repetitive process that is incredibly rewarding as you see the animal's form slowly emerge from the scrap pile. A few simple additions, like 2 small wooden beads for eyes and a darker stained tip for the nose, complete the transformation from a block of wood to a lovable creature. Because of its low profile, this hedgehog looks best when placed near the edge of a path or peeking out from under the leaves of a low-growing shrub. The natural wood tones allow it to blend into the garden floor, making it a subtle and delightful surprise for anyone who happens to look down. It is a great project for using up those tiny, sharp offcuts that usually get thrown away. Growing a permanent cluster of mushrooms in your yard requires nothing more than some thick branch sections and some bulky wood blocks. You can carve the caps from the blocks using a sander or a wood rasp, giving them a slightly irregular, organic dome shape that looks more natural than a perfect circle. Attaching these caps to the branch stems, with a single long screw creates a sturdy structure that can be easily planted into the soil. Grouping them in odd numbers like 3 or 5 makes the arrangement look more like a natural growth yew, defined in the forest. Painting the caps in deep forest greens, earthy browns, or even bright red with white polka dots allows you to customize the vibe of your garden. These mushrooms look particularly at home when placed in a shaded, damp area filled with moss or wood chips, where real fungi might actually grow. They provide a year-round splash of whimsy and can even be used as small, stepping stones for a fairy garden path. By using different heights and diameters for each mushroom in the cluster, you create a dynamic and visually interesting focal point that requires zero maintenance. For the final project, we are leaning into a modern, minimalist aesthetic by creating a fox statue using only triangular wood scraps. By carefully arranging these triangles to form the head, ears, and body, you create a stylized silhouette that feels both artistic and recognizable. This project relies on the contrast between different wood species. For example, using reddish cedar for the fur and light-colored pine for the tail tip and chest. It is a puzzle-like build that rewards patience and a good eye for geometric composition, resulting in a very high-end look. This geometric fox is a perfect addition to a modern garden or a well-manicured lawn, where its clean lines can truly stand out. You should finish the piece with a high-quality outdoor oil to bring out the natural colors of the various woods while protecting it from the elements. Standing at the edge of a patio or guarding the entrance to your yard, this statue proves that upcycled doesn't have to mean cluttered. It is a sophisticated, deliberate piece of art that represents the pinnacle of what you can achieve with a little creativity and a pile of scrap wood. We have successfully journeyed from raw, discarded timber to a garden filled with personality and charm. Whether you choose to build a geometric fox or a simple cluster of wooden mushrooms, the real reward is seeing your personality reflected in every corner of your yard. There is a deep sense of pride in knowing that these whimsical treasures started as nothing more than waste. If you're ready to keep transforming your outdoor space, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and comment below with which project you are starting this weekend.